Hi guys. So I wanted to do a little bit of a response to the Inside EV's sales card report that they released for the March sales of 2017. And I've seen this posted elsewhere, and actually I'm kind of guilty of this myself, just from first impression. We all saw the Bolt EV sales numbers, and we were, a little bit disappointed. I know that. But then I thought about what my actual prediction was, um, and it started to make a lot more sense. And then just looking at the other numbers too, I think there's a lot to be excited about. Um, you're talking about a nearly record sales month for plug-in vehicles in general. And with Tesla, it's kind of hard because they release quarterly numbers. So the Model S and Model X sort of spiked at the end, and it doesn't necessarily give a really clear understanding of how much they sold per month. But even if you just average it over the quarter, they sold about 11,000 vehicles domestically, it looks like. So that's pretty good. And then, of course, they had the big numbers that they had sold something like 25,000 total in the first quarter globally. So, again, that's another really good number. The Volt had another one of those record-setting numbers. There, a little over 2,000 Volts were sold, combined with the Prius Prime is almost 3,700 plugins. Now, the Prius Prime to me is, well, forget my feelings about the car specifically, but it only has the 25 miles of electric range, but those are genuine electric miles. And whenever you have high sales numbers for cars like the Volt and the Prius Prime, they're almost like a gateway vehicle to electric. So people are just sort of dipping their toe in the pond, or maybe they don't have a whole lot of infrastructure around them. Maybe they live in an apartment and they can't consistently charge, whatever the case may be. But the movement from plug-in hybrid electric vehicles or extended range electric vehicles to complete or pure BEVs is pretty good, that transition rate. And so the more of them that are sold now, the better it is for the EV market in general. And really, I mean, you can disagree with GM's philosophy with the Volt when it was first released, say versus Tesla, who's, rather than build a small battery vehicle with an internal combustion engine generator backup, they built a large battery vehicle and invested in a fast charger. So two completely different strategies. But really, when it comes to energy independence and things like that, having something like a Volt makes a lot of sense. And if 100% of commuters transitioned to a Volt, it would do a lot more good than if even 50% of commuters transitioned to a Tesla, right? Because for the most part, most of your trips are going to be all electric. But not to veer too far off the actual numbers, the sales numbers for this month. The big topic, I think, was the Bolt EV. Now it only sold 978 units, only up about 20 from the month before, which was also a short month. And it's easy to just look at that and say, oh, the numbers are stagnating, they're not moving. But even I sort of expected the numbers to be steady, but the addition for March was two states of New York and New Jersey, so they should have accounted for some additional sales. But I think there's something really important that you can't overlook. New York should be a huge market for the Volt, or for the Bolt EV, and in fact it should be almost as big of a market for the Bolt EV as California is. The Bolt EV might be a better car for some place like New York. It's smaller, it's more maneuverable, and it has more than enough range. But the thing is, New York passed a $2,000 EV rebate. which should make the Bolt EV even more affordable. The problem is it didn't become effective until April 1st. So if you were in New York, if I were in New York, and as much as I wanted to get into a Bolt EV as quickly as possible, I would go to the dealer lot, I would take test drives, I would look at my options, I would plop down a reservation so my spot was confirmed. But you'd be a fool if you didn't wait 30 days for an additional $2,000, right? So I think actually this upcoming month is going to be very promising. So if you look at, on average, the Bolt has been selling about 1,000 units per month since January. I think April is going to be, even though it tends to be historically speaking a much slower month, I actually do think the Bolt EV is going to crack 1,000 again for the month, but actually a little bit more. And the reason for that is there's also the addition of Washington State, which is also a very big EV market. So between Washington State and really, for all intents and purposes, New York being first, available in April, because like I said, why would you skip out on $2,000? All you have to do is wait a few weeks. So essentially we're gaining two states in April, which is New York and Washington State, and both of those should add significantly. Now the other aspect is, yes, the Bolt EV is suffering a little bit because they aren't offering the same sort of lease incentives that they are for, say, the Volt or other EVs are getting from other manufacturers, which can affect numbers, but I really think that's intentional right now. I think GM is doing the best they can do to sort of balance their production capabilities with demand. So if you come up with some really amazing lease option, they might not be able to keep production up with demand. So that, I think, is on their mind. And one thing that hints toward that is it's not just domestic sales, right? The Bolt EV is still going to be a global car. It's going to be a world car, even though it's not going to have right-hand drive immediately. And in Korea, it's sold out in 2 hours, right? So there have apparently already been 400 people who have purchased. I'm not sure how the numbers exactly work, but 400 people purchased and 2,000 more reserved. So that's another 2,400 Bolt EVs. So that's essentially just doubling the number that have sold if you include domestic. And then Norway they've already reserved 4,000 Ampera E's. So that's that's a large number. So if you're looking at it globally, by the end of June, we could easily look at well over 10,000 units having been made and sold. So actually, on second look and after thinking about some of the numbers a little bit more, I'm actually excited. The numbers are working, and I think, despite what some people might say, I think there's a lot of reason to be optimistic. I'm curious what you guys think about this, but yeah, leave your comments, any questions. But I think there's reason to be excited about just plug-ins, EVs in general, and the Bolt in particular, the Bolt EV in particular. I think it's doing phenomenally well and where it needs to be. All right, thank you guys.